Today, we're going to find out if you have the answers to these questions. And if you don't, you are going to have a problem closing deals, I promise you. So, if you were here with us last week, this is going to be part 2 of the tool building process to closing more deals. That's right, these are the actual tools that you need to be using to close deals in your interactions in whatever it is that you're selling. So, let's go on and get into it. If you remember last week, the number one thing you got to have is your authority. If you don't have that, you're going to have a problem, right? So this is going to be the first step in what you need to do to have that authority, and it's going to be answering and asking questions. Now, probably what you're thinking, you're going to get some lines about, hey, what are the things I need to do and say to get my exact product? And that is the wrong answer, and that's why you're at where you're at. So before we go any further, what we need to talk about is acknowledging the elephant in the room, and that's this gigantic shiner on my dome that you're probably sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, that forehead's so big, now what in the world's happened to it? Well, one of two things happened. Either there was a baby in a burning building and I rushed in to save it, and that's how this happened, or I dropped my water bottle on the ground and I bent over way too vigorously and smacked my head on the desk to pick it up. I'll let you determine which one of those things is true. But now if we can just move on past that and get back to the video, I'd really appreciate it, okay?
Mr. Madison, what you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
That's right. We're not actually talking about the questions that you're asking your individual customer, because I'm going to tell you right now, depending on your customer, those things are going to change. As we've talked about before, there is no such thing as a perfect pickup line. And if you think there is, that's why you suck and you aren't closing any deals. Sorry, I don't mean that you suck, but... Sorry. I mean, if you're not closing any deals, you need to get better at it, right? So let's talk more about what I mean. When we are talking about questions that you need to be asking, we're talking about the questions that you need to be asking yourself and that you need to have the answers to. This isn't about what questions can I ask them to pull the right strings so that I can pitch my product. That's not it. These are questions about them that you need to know the answers to if you're actually going to help them. Remember, this is all about doing the things that give us the position of authority. If you don't know what they need, you can't speak in an authoritative manner to them to actually help them with the problem. So the number one first question that you have to have the answer to, that you got to ask yourself, is what problem does my product solve? And I know what you're thinking, but they don't actually have a problem. They just want to come do this because it's a luxury, or like, trust me, there's a problem. And if that problem is they just want the thing you're selling, then there's your problem. But it doesn't matter. You have to truly know the answer to yourself. What problem does your product solve? And now the number 2 thing that we got to answer, the question you got to be asking yourself that you need to have the answer to for them. If this was you, if you were in their position having the things that they have and that wants that they have, what options would you be considering? Because I'm going to tell you right now, I don't care what you're selling. If you're not offering options, that's a whole nother problem. We'll get into that later on. But you need to know, if you were them, because at this point you've had a conversation with them now, what options would you consider if you were them? Now, I'm not talking about if you were them with your pocketbook. That's not what we're saying. If you were them in their situation, knowing what you know about them, what options would you consider? Like, you're the professional. These are your things. It's your product. You know it better than they do. At least you dang well should. So knowing your product, having that wonderful knowledge, what would you offer them in the way of options? Now, the last one we need to be talking about is, if you were them, which of these options would you be picking? Because based on the conversation you've had and the things that they've told you, there is a specific need and want that they have. So which one of these options best fulfills that? So again, But you're putting yourself in that situation because you are the one that knows your product. So the three things you need to be asking yourself is, number one, what problem does my product solve? Number two, if you were them, what options would you be considering? And then number three, amongst those options, if you were them, which one would you be picking? And again, for them, not what would you be doing for your benefit, what would you be doing for theirs? So now we're going to talk a little bit more, and we kind of did this a little bit last week. But if you remember, there's some things that you need to know. There's some conversations you need to have to be able to answer these three questions, right? So we're going to talk about that. And it's going to be dialogue. It's going to be conversation. And this is why when we start talking, there is no such thing as a good pickup line. If someone's out there telling you, hey, if you say this one thing, it works every single time, that's absolutely not true, because all people are different. Do not buy into that. Now, there may be, hey, one of these three questions or one of these three sayings probably fits in this scenario. Choose the one that fits accordingly. That's fine. One thing that I had a trainer tell me a long time ago, probably some of the best advice that I've got, whatever the thing is that you do, you need to have 10 go-to questions that you can ask at any time. And these questions will evolve over time, but these are going to be 10 questions. Like if you get stuck, you're hung up, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so lost in this cell right now, I don't know what in the world's going on, that you can just knee-jerk reaction pull one of these questions out, and somehow they're going to pertain enough to the thing that you're trying to take care of that you'll get back on track. So having 10 go-to questions, that isn't one question that's just like works every time, because that doesn't exist. So have yourself 10 go-to questions in your hip pocket. So to know the answers, you got to know a couple of things. And if you remember, we talked about it last week. You may be thinking right now, this is great. I'm picking up what you're putting down. I smell what you're stepping in. I blow what you're spraying, but I don't understand how to relate this to my team and the specific thing that we do and sell. Well, I'm so glad you asked. All you need to do is click in the link below and fill out the form, and we can have a one-on-one conversation, talk about a tailored package for you and your team of questions that will work and start making you more right now, today. So let's get back to it. What do you think? So if you remember from last week, it's what's wrong, what do they need, and why do they really need it? So knowing, again, these are all kind of pile up to get to your big three questions that you need to be able to know and answer for them. So when what's wrong, this is when you can ask very simple questions like, well, how's the thing working that you have right now? Because more than likely, they already have some version of the thing that you sell. Like if you sell houses, they probably have a house now. Or if you're like, no, it's their first house that they're buying. Well, what's with their apartment or their rent house? Like they have more than likely, they have a version of the thing that you're getting. So is it, what would you change about the thing that you have now? What have you enjoyed most about the thing that you have now? Again, what are the 10 go-to questions that you can find out these answers to? There's not a one size fits all, okay? Because trust me, one size definitely doesn't fit all. So when you're thinking about what they actually need, like again, have you ever been to the doctor and you think you got one problem, but the doctor gets to looking at you and they're like, nah, like this is what your actual problem is. That you don't have sinuses, you have the actual flu, right? So what you have to remember, you are the professional, you are the doctor. By your line of questioning, you will find out what they actually need and why they need it. Or they may think, like if you're selling a car, they may think, yeah, this old broken down thing just won't get out of its way anymore. The motor's just shot. And you find out they got a Prius that they're pulling a big fifth wheel trailer. Where the problem is you just got the wrong car. It's not that your car is broken. You're trying to make it do something it's not capable of doing. No. Seriously, no. I want to hear it. I want to know what the good excuse and the good reason is why you haven't shared this to a fella or a fella near you yet. No, come on. I want to hear it. And also, the bells and the likes and the dingy dongs and the comments. If there's a reason that you can think of that you haven't done it, Let me know, because I can't think of one. So when you're thinking about why they need it, like what are some of the questions to this particular problem, right? It's like, well, is this really just an inconvenience, or are you trying to keep up with the Joneses, or you're just a guy who wants a lot of toys, so this is another toy to add to the collection, or maybe the reason you're looking for this new driver is because you think the driver you have now is what's causing your ball to just go over and slice to the right every single time, but it really has nothing to do with the driver. It just has to do with the fact that you can't hit a ball.
We got this. We're gonna do a strong grip, tuck the sleeve, and just drop it in the slot. Here we go. Ah, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done trying to pretend. I'm just gonna play myself.
I have a problem with my driver. Okay, listen, if you're great off the tee box, hey, I'm happy for you. But some of us aren't. So I wish you'd let up a little bit about it. It's a problem. It's an insecurity, and I'm really getting off track here. I'm sorry about that. So, what the takeaway we need to have on this is, when it comes to questions, we often think questions are what we need to know so that we can use against them. And that's not it. You need to be asking questions so that you actually know them and understand them and take the knowledge of the thing that you have and know how to apply it accordingly. So this is a huge tool in your arsenal, and that is a tool of asking questions and knowing the answer to some very specific questions. Hope you wrote them down. If not, rewind the dadgum thing and pay better attention this time and write it down. So, until the next one, we'll see ya on the next one.